systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? It's NHL on the forefront here tonight. And don't worry, I got you covered. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton here. And if you're not a member yet, I don't know what you're doing, but head over to shipitnation.com. You can still use that promo code Black Friday. Little Santa Claus hoop, little Santa Tambo out here leaving this promo code on. Get in now. BF50 is the code, 50% off your first month all access pass. Hey, if you're an NBA person, you're an NFL guy out there, and you're looking to degen a little bit tonight, that's why you're here watching the show. Hey, you can still get in, still join now. The rest of the football season packages, you see the prices there up on the screen. If not, we have you covered. All access pass. Without the optimizer, I believe it's like $35 a month. With the optimizer, I believe it's right around $50 a month for the first month using that promo code. So check us out. Get in there now. Hey, I'm sure you guys out there are new to NHL here. So off the top here, I'm going to run through a couple different things just in terms of NHL DFS in general. I'm sure a lot of members out there are kind of dipping their toes in the water here tonight for the first time as there's no NBA going on. There's nothing else on the docket but NHL. There's really good contest over on DraftKings tonight. So looking to kind of focus on that. My slate plan is already live for members, so you can head out there, check it out. I'll be in the Discord as well, answering questions. The matchup sheet is updated as well. But in terms of NHL DFS, it's really a stacking sport. So think MLB DFS, right, where your goalie in NHL is kind of like your pitcher in MLB. It's kind of your not safety blanket, but it's also kind of the guy that has the opportunity to score a lot of points. Obviously, they get points by saves, and then a win bonus. You're really when you're picking a goalie, I typically spend down at goalies. Obviously, tonight is kind of a 5-game slate here, so it's a little bit different. But typically, I kind of go in that mid-tier and lower tier range historically in terms of goalies, just because it is the most volatile position in NHL DFS. Some of the heaviest favorites in the NHL lose all the time, and usually those guys, goalies, are priced up based on what the Vegas odds are and what their implied team totals are. So heavy favorites, usually their goalies are priced $8K, $8,400, $8,500 like we see here tonight. And then the guys on the other end are in the low 7Ks. Realistically, what you're looking for in terms of a goalie that you want to play in DFS at least has has an outside shot to win the game. The 4 win points for I believe it's 4 on DraftKings, 6 on FanDuel there. I might mix that up. I don't play over on FanDuel too often, but the win is kind of just an added bonus. You're really looking for the goalie to get to that 35 save mark. So if they can get an outside shot to get that 35 save bonus, that's huge. But typically you're looking for your goalie to score right around 25-ish points realistically. So it is the most volatile position. Typically I kind of build out my stacks first, and then whatever goalie kind of fits, I usually play as long as it kind of makes sense overall. And I usually list a couple in the slate plan there for members. So hit me up in the Discord if you have questions there. But in terms of roster construction, I get this question all the time. What's your typical roster construction? Because obviously in MLB DFS, you're looking at like a 5-2 stack or a 5-3 stack. NHL DFS, I do a lot of 3-2-2s. Or 3-3-2s. I typically very rarely go 4 or 5-man stacks from the same team unless it's a really short slate. Tonight we do have 5 games, so I probably would include a 4-man stack here tonight just due to the nature of the slate. But yesterday we had a 10-game slate, and all the winners really were 3-2-2 stacks or 3-3-2-2. So I really kind of hone in on 3 skaters from one line, whether it's a full strength or the power play, 2 skaters from another team, and then 2 more skaters from another team is typically how I kind of like to construct my teams. I just go in on good spots, good matchups, and just correlate those skaters, whether it's they skate together on the power play or they skate together on the full line strength, or better yet, they correlate together on both the full line and the top power play. So that's kind of a little 30-second overview, right, on NHL DFS roster construction, kind of what you're looking at. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This is going to make some more sense here, especially if you guys are new. We're going to talk on the matchup sheet here. Again, this is on our website. The legend is up here. There's basically how you read this is you kind of read it horizontal or diagonal. So tonight here, looking at the first game on the slate, the bottom team here is going to be the home team. The top team is the away team. So the Flyers are heading into Detroit to face the Red Wings here. These numbers, all of these numbers here are season stats, home and road splits for the last 10 games. So we cut it off to the most recent 10 games. So as you can see here, got the Vegas total information here in the first couple columns. And then all the meat and potatoes is kind of on the back end here. So the Flyers averaging 2.9 goals on average per game over the last 10 road games. They're giving up 2.81 goals against per game on average over the last 10 road games. The expected goals numbers are really kind of what I hone into and look into. This is kind of what's expected based on their recent performance that we're seeing on the ice. So looks like they're excelling a little bit more than expectations right now. Obviously, as you can see here, 2.9 on average, where their expected goals category is 31st in the league. There's 32 NHL teams, so second last in the league on the road. So that's kind of stuff I hone into. And then the power play numbers, I look for green. You want to match green versus green realistically in kind of a perfect scenario. You'd have green versus green. So like you can see here, 23% versus a very, very horrible penalty kill. And then you look for teams that give up a lot of chances. So Red Wings kind of middle of the pack, almost averaging about 3 power play opportunities for the opposition per game. So in a real world scenario, in kind of the perfect world scenario, you would see kind of like this, right? The Stars, green for expected goals, green for expected goals against for the Leafs. Same thing in actuals. And then shots against. So how many shots are they giving up per game for the Leafs? Green, good target, almost 30 a game. And the Stars taking the most per game as well. So you're really looking to match green with green in a perfect scenario. Obviously, that's not always the case. And usually that's kind of where the chalk kind of resides for the most part when it is bright green across the board. So that's kind of 30,000 foot overview of the matchup sheet here. But realistically, looking at tonight here, I like the Stars quite a bit. As you can see here, I'm a matchups guy. I love playing matchups. I play guys in good spots. Doesn't always work out, but more times than not, it's going to be in my favor, especially when we're working off of the most recent 10-game sample size here. I just don't think ownership is going to follow here tonight. Everybody loves Toronto. Toronto is a wagon. But Dallas is right there. I mean, these teams are pretty equivalent, 19-12 on the year for the Leafs, 19-11 on the year for the Stars. Stars are at home, so I give a slight bump to them. I just don't think their ownership is going to be up there. I just don't think the ownership is going to follow the kind of numbers, and so I like the Stars quite a bit here tonight. But that's kind of how you read the matchup sheet here. You're really looking for spots to target, and then you jump over to the Stone, which I'm going to show here in a little bit, and you go stacks and find your skaters that way. So that's kind of the overview of the slate here. The chalk of the slate is going to be the Jets here. As you can see, everybody kind of attacks this Anaheim squad. Jets, one of the best teams in the league this year. They're minus 185 favorite, heaviest favorite on the slate. It is a 6 total. That is one thing on the slate. There's nothing in terms of a total. 6.5, 7 is usually your high total games in NHL. 5.5 is usually the lowest you see. So there's 3 really low totals. Historically, for like a main slate, 5.5 totals are really not great. Now, I'm not a huge total guy in general, just because 5.5 goals. I mean, if this team's implied to score 2.5, Toronto, if 2 goals come from the same line, I mean, that's fine in terms of DFS, right? Scoring. So totals don't mean everything to me, but it is kind of just interesting to see. Overall, the slate is pretty even in terms of totals and spots. You see a lot of pretty overall low favorites outside of the Jets there. So looking at that in general, I can just easily tell the Jets tonight here are going to be the chalk of the slate. And I did allude to that in the slate plan as well. So let's go ahead and jump into the stone here. Threw the stone up on the screen, as you can see here. We're going to talk game by game, talk some of my favorite plays. As always, all this stuff is included into the slate plan in general here. I'm going to go ahead and just pull the PDF so it's easier to kind of see everything here on the screen. Should be easier to see there. So like I said, first game on the slate here is the Flyers and the Red Wings. Looking at the numbers, Flyers kind of middle of the pack right now in actual goals against on the road. Again, I alluded to their expected goals numbers is way down. I'm not baking into that too much here. Husso's been horrible in that, as you can see here, bright red across the board. I actually like the Flyer spot here a decent amount. I like the second line quite a bit with Morgan Frost, Michkov. He's a contender for Rookie of the Year. Him and Celebrini for the Sharks are kind of the contenders there. But Michkov's been amazing. Tippett's very good. Morgan Frost is really good. So I kind of like that second line the most from the Flyer squad. But Couture and Konechny. Konechny is a great wing play. He's a great one-off option. As you can see, anytime you see a guy on a team like this from a forward standpoint, whether it's a center or a wing, and their time on ice on average is over 20 minutes, that means they kind of do it all for the squad. They're involved in the penalty kills. They're involved in the power plays, increasing that ice time. So the more ice time, obviously the more points and opportunities you have to score fantasy points, which we're looking for. So I like the Flyers quite a bit here. Konechny, really good option, even as a one-off. And you can even add him into your second-line stack because him and Michkov do correlate together on the top power play there. So I like Couture, Konechny, and Farabee if you're looking for the top line. But I do put line 2, Morgan Frost, Tippett, and Michkov ahead of line 1 in terms of my overall preference. I usually prefer line 2 on the road, line 1 and 3 at home more versus line 2 typically, just because the home team in NHL dictates the matchups there. So they usually put their best defensive line on line 1, just because usually line 1 is the most powerful line on each team. So in general, it just opens up more opportunities kind of for line 2. Not too often do teams kind of go line for line. Does happen, but most teams kind of play matchups a little bit and put their best scoring line on a weaker line overall in kind of just vice versa there. So Flyers, really good plays. Jamie Drysdale at 3.1K, great option from a defensive standpoint. The Flyers have really good D-man option. Travis Sanheim is one of the cheaper spend-up options here tonight. I like him quite a bit. If you can't get up to a guy like Quinn Hughes, which we'll talk about later, or a guy like Josh Morrissey, Travis Sanheim's fine. But I actually prefer the cheaper guys like a Cam York, a Jamie Drysdale. Those two guys I kind of like quite a bit for the Flyers. Drysdale on that top power play is a really nice value. And I typically, from a roster construction standpoint, like to spend down at defense. That's really where I get my my value from, because the way the scoring works on DraftKings, if these guys value plays get 3 blocks, they get that bonus on DraftKings, and that's huge for these price points there. So like the Flyers. On the Red Wings side, Larkin's got a decent price for being at home here. I don't mind some Larkin, but for me, it's more kind of the value guys like JT Compher. I think is fine value at 3,100. I don't hate him. Mo Sider is a decent option in kind of that upper mid-tier range. He kind of does it all there, so don't hate him. But realistically, it's like Andrew Kopp or JT Compher is kind of where I'm looking to go on the Red Wings side. But definitely have way more interest in the Flyers here, especially if Husso is confirmed in that, which he's projected and looks to be going here tonight. Next game on the slate here, Toronto and the Dallas Stars here. I like this spot quite a bit here for the Stars. I just don't think ownership's going to follow, as you can see here. Kind of middle of the road ownership. I mean, the Detroit side is going to be way chalkier than the Flyers or the Stars here, and I kind of like that quite a bit here. So I like the Stars. Rupe Hintz playing great right now, 5,500. Really like him. You compare him with Wyatt Johnson and Jason Robertson. Full line correlation there as well. They all skate together on the full line strength and on the power play. I like those three guys a ton here for the Stars. Matt Duchene, Stankoven, and Marchment are good. I just prefer them more kind of on the road. They're I will say over the last 3 games, they do have 27 unblocked shot attempts for over the last 3 games with no goals. So could see some regression coming their way. So I don't hate them. Stankoven, Marchment, and Duchene. Overall, they're going to be very, very unowned. As you can see here, all the ownership when people going to the Stars are playing that top line for a good reason, myself included. But I will say the numbers, looking at the unblocked shot attempts for 27 over the last 3 games and no goals. So you could see some goals come from that line. So top 2 lines firmly in play for me. I'm not probably getting to the Dadonov, Sam Steele line. Jamie Benn you can include if you're going for a power play stack. I will say Joseph Woll has been really good. He's got a really nice price point. So in teams where you're not playing the Stars, in tournaments, Joseph Woll is an amazing play. 7,200 fits the script for my spend down goalie with upside here. And Toronto is a very good squad. Both these teams are very good here. So this game could go either way here. On the Leaf side, probably not going to spend all the way up to Matthews. He is the only spend really on the slate here tonight. I am seeing pretty low ownership, but I do think that kind of creeps up as people are looking to spend up. And he's really the only option outside of a guy like Kaprizov or Kaprizov's really the only other guy in the realm of possibilities here for a similar price point. Matthews is fine, but if I'm playing the Leafs, I'm going to Tavares line with Pacioretty and Knees. I think some of these lines are mixed up here, but I do like Tavares a little bit. But overall, my interest is on the Stars side. And I'm going to be kind of off the Leafs here tonight, which is a little scary, but these price points, they're up there. Ottinger's a really good goalie, and the Stars are really good at home. So I'm pretty much fading the Leafs here tonight overall. Next game on the slate here, the Wild and the Florida Panthers here. Florida is favored on the road, which is kind of crazy to see here. I don't really agree with that. Florida is the returning Stanley Cup champions. However, the Wild have been the better team this year. Wild look like a complete wagon, especially at home. They're very, very good defensively. Fleury is a very good goalie in general. Same thing with Gustav. If Gus Bus starts for the Wild, I like the Wild. The Wild first contest here in Florida smashed this team 5-1. I don't think that same score is going to happen here. I could see a tighter game, but I could see like a 4-2 Wild win here. And these price points with Eriksson Ek being on the shelf are pretty nice for the Wild. Rossi's got a really nice price point at 4.7K. Kaprizov, one of the best players in hockey. He does it all, literally penalty kill, power play, much like Konechny does for the Flyers. That's Kaprizov for the Wild. So he's an elite one-off, even if you can't get up to anyone else. But I do like kind of a skinny stack here with Rossi, Kaprizov, and a Spurgeon. 4,300, 4,700 makes it a little bit easier to kind of fit that 9,500 instead of pairing up a guy like Zuccarello or Boldy. So like line one a ton here with Rossi, Kaprizov, Zuccarello. Really like Spurgeon as well. Brock Faber plays all the minutes he can handle. Literally plays like he averages, as you can see here, over 25 minutes. He's gotten up into 27, 28 minutes before. So Brock Faber at 4,100, still a great option there. I do prefer Spurgeon a little bit just due to the power play correlation there. But yeah, I like the Wild a lot here. Top line is my preferred line. Zuccarello's got a nice price point at 4.9, skating next to Kaprizov. Him and Zook have a really good connection there. I will not play Zuccarello by himself without Kaprizov. They just have a very good power. They just have a very good correlation there. So I don't want to play Zuccarello alone. I prefer to pair him with Kaprizov. Same thing overall. So Like the spot. And then Ryan Hartman, really nice value at 3,800. Compare him up with Matt Boldy, who's had an incredible season so far. Really good skater all overall. And then you got another really nice value in Mojo here, Marcus Johansson at 2.8K. So line 1 and 2 for me. I like quite a bit here from the Wild against Florida and Bob. Bob did start last game again. It's the Wild as well, and got destroyed. So the Wild see him pretty good. They can dictate the matchups here. I like the spot quite a bit. On the Panthers side, it's just second line for me. It'd be Chucky's or be Sammy Bennett's line with Chucky, Verhaeg, and Bennett. Just the big dogs for me. But at this ownership, I'm very, very happy just to be off that ownership and flip the script and go to the Wild. So Florida is pretty much a fade for me. I will say Aaron Ekblad, really good value. Same thing with Gustav Forsling. So 2 good value options there. Ekblad's going to be really chalky here. Probably one of the highest owned players on the slate. He's projected to be 30+% owned here at 4K due to the top line, top power play, and all the minutes he handles. I don't hate it, but realistically, I just hate playing super chalk D guys. I'd rather just flip the script and go to Jared Spurgeon for $300 more on the other side of that game. Kind of a little switcheroo, 2v2 swap-a-rooney there I like quite a bit. But outside of that, probably not getting to much of the Florida side, especially at this ownership here. Next game on the slate here is an interesting one. Utah's playing really good right now, and Vancouver is not playing the greatest. This is a tough game to get a read on because Demko, last time these two teams played when Demko was in that was last year. It was 2-1, very gross game in general. Vancouver did win the game. Vancouver's coming off a big win against Colorado at home. They beat Florida 4-0. They lost their last game to Boston, St. Louis, Tampa. So 2-3 in their last 5. Whereas Utah on the other end is playing really good right now. Utah over the last 5 games has kind of had some really, really good instances. Obviously, they played pretty shitty teams. They played the Sharks. They played the Sabres. They played Philly. They lost a tight one to Minnesota, but they were able to score 4 goals on Minnesota, which is kind of enlightening to me. They smashed Colorado. So Utah's playing really good right now. I will say pretty good spot for both sides here. I prefer the Vancouver side a little bit overall, but I do like this game in general. If there's one game I had to pick on the slate that's going to kind of shoot out here, it would be this game. So this is a really good game to target. I'll start with the Vancouver side. JT Miller being back is nice. 5,700. He's got a couple games under his belt now. You compare him with Brock Besser, Connor Garland. I like that quite a bit. Elias Pettersson, 6'1", pretty underpriced for me in general with his upside and his talent. Really nice stack with Jake DeBrusk. You can just 2-man stack that. Pettersson, DeBrusk. If you want to add in a Quinn Hughes and spend up a D-man, you can. But I really like that just 2-man secondary stack there with DeBrusk and Pettersson. You can throw in a Miller if you want to kind of power play stack it here. Looking at the numbers, Utah's penalty kill is very bad, and they give up a ton of opportunities here. So I like the power play stack for Vancouver. So if I'm 3-man stacking it, I want all 3 guys to be on that top power play here. Like a Pettersson, a Brock Besser, DeBrusk is a nice 3-man stack. If you want to add a 4-man going into JT Miller, you get 2 guys on line 1, 2 guys on line 2. You have a ton of ice time covered there, and it's contrarian because you're playing 2 centers from the same team there. So Pettersson, Miller, Besser, DeBrusk are my 4 favorite guys from Vancouver side. I like them a lot. Really good power play matchup here. Overall, Quinn Hughes, if you want to spend up at D-man, you can there, but typically I save money at defense. So probably not going to do it here tonight, but he is the best spend up on the slate from the defense standpoint, and he probably has the highest ceiling on the slate for sure. So he can definitely dwarf that position pretty easily. On the Utah side here, just looking at kind of some of the hottest skaters over the last couple of games here. Dylan Guenther, one of the hottest skaters in the entire NHL right now. Logan Cooley, really hot right now. Stenlin, really hot right now overall. So they're playing great hockey right now. If I had to pick a line, it'd probably be the top line with Schmaltz, Keller, and Hayton, just because the other line is going to get more ownership, I think, due to how they're playing. Really can't fault anyone for playing either of the top two lines here for Utah. Again, I prefer the top line just because they're at home. I give a slight bump to them. Hayton's got a nice price point at 3,500. Clayton Keller, really good skater, really good player in general, 6,500. Nick Schmaltz, same thing, 4,600. Really good price points there. They correlate together on that top power play as well. You can throw in a Sergachev if you want to. But again, I don't really like him a ton. I like other guys more kind of in that price point, unless you're doing a power play stack here for Utah. And then, Logan Cooley's playing incredible right now with Dylan Guenther. You can do a little two-man skinny stack there. They both correlate together on that power play. So going Cooley, Dylan Guenther, and then throw in a Sergachev if you want is a nice way to do it. Or just cut it off at Cooley and Dylan Guenther. They're both playing great right now. 5,500, really good price. 4,600, really good price. So I like that two-man quite a bit in general. But, yeah, really, really good game environment here to target. In terms of goalies, Demko's fine in the mid-tier. Same thing with Veggie here. Both fine options in kind of that mid-tier here in general. But this is one of my favorite games from an offensive standpoint. So not sure I get to too many of these goalie options here. I like other options more on the slate. Last game on the slate here. This is the chalk of the slate here. Winnipeg smashed everybody last night. Winnipeg is on a back-to-back, so that is a little scary here. And Dosto's been really, really good in goal all season here. However, I think they're a little outmatched here. Winnipeg is going to be super chalky. Top line is going to be super chalky. If I'm going to Winnipeg, I actually prefer the second line, going right back to the well with Nemesnikov, Perfetti, and Chibrikov. I really like that super, super cheap stack. Nobody's really going to play them too much. I mean, Perfetti's getting some ownership, but nobody's going to play Nemesnikov. Nobody's going to play Chibrikov. So the reason Perfetti's getting all that ownership is because he is on that top power play at 3,600. Can't fault anybody really for going here. Looking at the numbers, the Ducks at home, expected goals, dead last in the league. High danger chances, dead last in the league. They got a 67% penalty kill. So this is a really, really good spot for the Jets power play. Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, who had a huge night last night. Scheifele, Velarde, who's too cheap for his role and his upside. He's one of the best value plays on the slate. Pretty much a cash staple here is Velarde here. Same thing with Perfetti. So like this spot quite a bit. It is the chalk of the slate. It is the heaviest favorite of the slate. It is the best matchup of the slate. All things kind of point to Winnipeg smash. But in terms of NHL DFS, that's how things are going to just flip. And Dosto's just going to own everybody and all the chalk. Could definitely see that happening here. I would much prefer the spot starting for the Ducks just because I think Gibby is a worse goalie than Dosto. Dosto's having a hell of a season. But it is the best spot for a reason. Very good plays here. Expect a lot of Jets to hit your optimizers. Expect a lot of Jets to kind of be in a lot of the industry's core plays and things. And I can't really poke holes in it too often or too much here. Again, I do prefer line two, though, at the ownership. Nemesnikov, Perfetti, and Chibrikov. That's a little way to take some of this ownership down is just play him with the second line guys instead of the top power play guys there, or go like Nemesnikov, Velarde, Perfetti, Chibrikov. You still get two guys on that top power play, two guys on that second power play, and you middle a lot of ownership and the salary of the stack there. So I like that quite a bit. On the Ducks side, Eric Comrie's in net. He's much worse than Hellebuck. Hellebuck's not going to go on a back-to-back here, so you could see the Ducks score some goals here. I have zero interest in Comrie at 8,400. He's going to be one of the chalkiest goalies on the slate. I have no interest in him. Makes me like some of these Ducks a little bit. Strome, Vetrano, Troy Terry is kind of the guys I would play. Just play the big dogs, cut it off there. Don't get cute. Nobody's going to play them, but I do think it is a sneaky upside spot. They're fully correlated top line and top power play here. Strome, Vetrano, Terry, kind of the guys I'm looking at, and then Jackson Lacombe at 3,300, one of the best value D-men plays on the slate. Coming off back-to-back massive games there. He's on that top power play. I like him quite a bit at 3,300 there. That's going to do it, though, for this little 5-game breakdown. Went firmly in depth here, as I'm sure there's a lot of newer folks in the NHL streets here tonight. Again, hit me up in the Discord with any questions you have. If you're watching this and you're not a member yet, still use that code BF50. Go to SHIPITNation.com. You can click the banner at the top and check out all of our packages there. But good luck tonight in those contests. Hope to see those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top for myself, Maids. Let's ship it.